right, good afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and call the State Allocation Board meeting to order. The time is 4:04. This meeting is being held in person at the East End Complex Auditorium at 1500 Capitol Avenue in Sacramento, California, 95814, for anyone who would like to provide public comment in person. The meeting is also being conducted by way of Zoom meeting for members of the public who would like to participate remotely. In order for this meeting to run efficiently and for those participating remotely, please note the following guidelines. All attendees will be muted during the meeting. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom meeting interface, and I will call your name at the appropriate time, and OPSC staff will request to unmute you. If you are calling into the meeting and not using a computer or the Zoom application on a mobile device, you will be unable to provide public comment. Just a note, the board will not be meeting in closed session today. And before we start with our agenda items, excuse me, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge Senator Choi, whose last meeting serving on the State Allocation Board was December 3rd, 2025. We thank Senator Choi for his commitment, dedication, and service to this board, as well as to the citizens of the state of California. And I don't think he's joining us at all remotely, correct? Okay. And then with that, Ms. Jones, will you please call the roll, noting any members joining us from a remote location?
Certainly. Senator Laird? Senator Perez? Assemblymember Murasucci?
Sure.
Murasucci present. Assemblymember Davies?
Here.
Davies present. Assemblymember Quirk Silva?
Here.
And that will be a virtual participation. Juan Morales?
Here.
And that is Juan Morales present. Sorry. Jeremy Smith?
Here.
And Jeremy Smith present. Ana Lasso?
Here.
Ana Lasso present, and Michelle Peralt.
Here.
Michelle Peralt present. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you so much. With that, we're going to go ahead and move right into our first item, which is an action item to approve the minutes for the December 3rd, 2025 meeting. Are there any comments or questions from the board members on the minutes? Okay, seeing none, are there any public comments on the minutes? I'm assuming no? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion and a second to approve the minutes from December 3rd, 2025?
Move the minutes.
Second.
Moved by Assemblymember Davies, seconded by Assemblymember Murasucci. If we could please have a roll call.
Certainly. Assemblymember Murasucci.
Aye.
Murasucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies.
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries.
Thank you so much. We'll move now on to our next item, which is our executive officer statement, and I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The executive officer's statement is on stamped pages 29 and 30 of today's agenda. I will touch on the most pertinent updates and just note that the printed statement also includes information on several of today's action items and the Office of Public School Construction's most recent stakeholder meeting. The governor's budget proposal released on January 9th maintains an allocation of $1.5 billion in Proposition 2 bond funds for school facility program projects in fiscal year 2026-27, consistent with the amount allocated in recent years. This proposal is contingent upon approval by the legislature and the governor in the annual budget development process. Regulatory amendments approved by the board in August 2025 to extend a January 1st, 2026 sunset date on the additional grant for general site development for a 5-year period were approved by the Office of Administrative Law and became effective on December 29th, 2025. We also recently held a priority funding filing period between November 12th and December 11th, 2025. This represented the second opportunity for applicants with unfunded approvals under Proposition 2 Bond Authority to request apportionments from an anticipated spring 2026 statewide general obligation bond sale. During this period, OPSC received requests for 192 projects, totaling approximately $752 million in state funding. These requests are valid from January 1st through June 30th, 2026. We did not receive requests for 9 school facility program projects and 3 charter school facilities program projects that could have participated in this priority funding filing round. The 9 school facility program projects will receive 1 occurrence for non-participation under the school facility program regulations. Our next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 25th, and I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you so much. Are there any comments or questions from the board members on the executive director? Yes, Assemblymember Marsucci.
So just for clarification, the budget is proposing an allocation of $1.5 billion, and the filing period that you just discussed, we received 192 project requests. That is to go toward last year's $1.5 billion allocation. Is that correct? I didn't know if my question was clear. Yeah.
Yes, I understand. So the governor's budget proposal is for $1.5 billion in school facility program applications, essentially to be processed to the board in the fiscal year. That's consistent with what has been in the Budget Act in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the applications, the 192, as you'd mentioned, from the most recent priority funding filing round,
Mm-hmm.
Those projects all received unfunded approvals from the board last year in 2025, and were able to participate in priority funding to potentially receive an apportionment this year if there's a successful bond sale before or during the period that those requests are valid through the end of June. As far as whether that amount is attributed to the current fiscal year, so that amount would be attributed to or go toward the 1.5 billion in the current fiscal year, 2025-26, because they would ultimately be apportioned in that time frame if there is a successful bond sale before the end of June.
Mm-hmm. And so the priority funding filing round, these are for projects that fit under various categories as designated for priority funding. Is that correct?
They are all school facility program projects, so some may be for new construction, modernization, facility hardship seismic mitigation, potentially natural disaster assistance in this round as well. All of them received unfunded approvals from the board first with Proposition 2 bond authority. Unfunded approvals essentially are kind of an acknowledgement by the board and by OPSC staff. The applications have been fully processed and reviewed to the board and approved. However, they remain as unfunded approvals, awaiting bonds to be sold to turn into cash availability to actually release to the projects. Once there are successful bond sales held by the State Treasurer's Office to sell bonds from Proposition 2 Bond Authority, that's when we can bring an item back to the board to convert unfunded approvals into apportionments. And the priority funding regulations essentially are the process by which school districts that have received an unfunded approval already can file a certification during specified time frame indicating that if they receive an apportionment following a bond sale, they can meet fund release requirements within 90 days of that apportionment, that they're ready to proceed and request fund release within that time frame.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional questions from board members? Okay. Are there any public comments on the executive officer statement? Okay. Seeing none, this is not an action item, so we'll go ahead now and move on to our next item, which is our consent agenda. Are there any comments from staff that need to be made on the agenda, on the consent?
No, I'd be
Okay.
pleased to answer any questions if there are any for the consent agenda.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions from the board on the consent agenda, or does anything need to be pulled? Seeing none. Are there any public comments on the consent agenda? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Director Lasso and seconded by either Assemblymember Marsucci or Member Smith. If we could have roll call.
Certainly. Assemblymember Marisucci.
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies.
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye, and that motion carries.
All right, thank you so much. Before we continue, I'd like to propose that we take up the action items that require board approval before we go to our financial reports and then our reports, discussion, and information items that don't require a vote. Is there any objection to going out of order? No. Okay, great. Seeing none, we will go ahead and move on to our appeal items. Our first appeal is for Orland Joint Unified School District. I'll turn it back over to staff. Thank you.
Thank you. We're on stamp page 110 of the agenda. This appeal is for Orland Joint Unified up in Glenn County. This district is requesting reinstatement of their full-day kindergarten program application. They previously received an advanced design apportionment at the September 2023 State Allocation Board Meeting. Subsequent to that, they received 2 board approvals for time extensions to their fund release to allow them additional time to obtain CD and DSA approvals, to allow them time to de-scope their work. They lowered their classroom count from 7 down to 4. 4 days after the second due date, they realized they missed that second extension deadline. They immediately reached out to OPSC and filed an appeal request. Had the district submitted that appeal or that extension request before that July 25 deadline, we would have presented a request in the consent agenda to the board to extend that for them. Given the short amount of time, though, after the deadline, which OPSC was notified, we do support their request. The district has already started construction. They are expected to complete the project in June of 2026. If the board approves the district's appeal request, we can immediately release funds to them. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and the district is available here in person and on Zoom if you have any follow-up.
Great, thank you so much. I believe we are joined, I don't know if is Mr. Perry, the superintendent, online perhaps, and then Ms. King-Eisman from King, are you the consultant? Yes, okay. Is here in the room. Would either of you like to provide any comments or? Okay. Mr. Perry, are you?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go right ahead.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Would
Yes, Assemblymember.
would it be inappropriate for me to make a motion to support Orland Joint Unified's appeal at this point, or?
It would not be inappropriate.
Okay.
We'll see if Mr.,
second.
okay, we do have a motion and a second, but we'll see if Mr. Perry would like to comment, and then I do want to make sure we don't have any other additional public comments, and we'll go from there. Mr. Perry, did you have additional comments you wanted to provide?
I just want to thank the board for considering our appeal today. We fully acknowledge that we missed the deadline to request an extension in July. We're really hoping that our error will not impact our students. The circumstances surrounding our error, it's well documented in our written appeal, and I want to take the opportunity to thank the board for their understanding. And I want to also make sure that we reiterate that we have audited our submission protocols and are confident that we won't have anything like this happen in the future for our deadlines being missed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I think we call that a teachable moment, Mr. Perry.
Yes, it is.
Well done. Okay, sorry. With that, we do have a motion and a second on the, for consideration, but before I do that, is there any public comment on this item? I see none in the room? None? Okay, great. We do have a motion and a second. If we could please go ahead and have a roll call.
Assemblymember Marisucci.
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies.
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye, and that motion carries.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the district and your representatives for being here today. I appreciate that. All right, with that, we have another appeal item for ALPA. Am I saying that right? I think I'm saying it wrong. Unified School District. So I'll turn it back to staff.
Thank you. We're on stamp page 118 of the agenda. This appeal request is from Alpa Unified down in Tulare County. This district is requesting a scope change request after the completion and audit of 2 of their projects, and they'd also request to amend 2 previously submitted expenditure reports. This district received facility hardship funding back in 2013 for these 2 projects and have since been completed, and OPC conducted a closeout expenditure review for both projects. The closeout review for the elementary school project found that they did not complete 2 of the 8 classrooms in the project, and we recommended that the board reduce their apportionment by $848,000. On the closeout review for the high school project, we found they did not complete all the square footage in the project and recommended the board reduce the apportionment by $640,000. Following the receipt of the repayment request, the district filed an appeal after more research. They are requesting the board count 2 classrooms for kindergarten that were added separately towards the required 8 classrooms and adding capacity to the project, and also for 4 modular classrooms on the high school that added the square footage on the project, the high school project. OPSC recommends approval of both requests. Had the scope change request been requested prior to the closeout of the elementary school project, OPSC would have recommended that approval by the board. For the high school project, OPSC would have recommended approval of the scope change request. We do note that 2 of the 4 classrooms were previously leased, but they did acquire them 1 month after the 4-year deadline for high school projects. But they were in use on the site prior to the deadline and prior to the acquisition. Given the short amount of time after the deadline, OPSC is supportive of the request. The district superintendent is on Zoom to answer any questions, and I'd be happy to answer any questions as well.
Thank you so much. Before I move to board questions in the district, I think I just want to note that it looks like we have Senator Perez who's joined us, so thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
would like to make a motion to support the appeal of the Alpa Unified School District.
Thank you so much. I have a motion, and we'll go ahead and go to the district. Is there a second, though, while I have this going?
Second.
All right, second by Director Lasso. Before we take that up, I think Dr. Hayes or Ms. Limon from the district, are you online? And if so, did you have any comments or questions?
You know, we are both here, thank you. And we just wanted to thank Michael and his team. They were just incredible throughout this process for us. Juan and I both joined the district after these situations took place. So for us, it was a learning process, but they were extremely patient with us. And we just appreciate the board tonight and your considerations and time in considering our appeal.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any other public comments or questions on this item? All right,
Sure.
seeing none here.
Sure.
None on-
Just one comment since I
Oh, yes.
left it
sorry.
out of my presentation. Should the district, with the board approve the district's appeal request, we listed 3 recommendations in the item. The first 2 are to approve the reinstatements of their apportionments, which are shown on attachments E and F, and that as part of the approval to allow them to amend their expense reports, require them to submit that within 60 days.
Okay, thank you. So just noted, there are 3 items we are approving under staff recommendation. I assume, yep, I'm getting nods from those who moved the motion. Okay, with that, can I please have a roll call?
Certainly. Senator Perez.
Aye.
Perez, aye. Assemblymember Murasucci.
Aye.
Murasucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies. Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And again, thank you to the district for being available. All right, with that, we're moving right along. We're going to go ahead and move on to our action items. Our first one is the annual adjustment to the school facility program grants. Send it back for the staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first action item is on stamped pages 141 through 152 of today's agenda. This item presents the annual adjustment in the school facility program grants based on the change in construction costs. Pursuant to the Education Code and SFP regulations, each year in January, the board approves an annual adjustment to the school facility program grants based on the change in a statewide cost index for Class B construction. The one-year rate of change for the cost index between 2025 and 2026 is an increase of 3.56%. I would also note that this is the first time this annual adjustment would be applied to new supplemental grants established by Proposition 2 in accordance with regulations for those new supplemental grants which became effective in September 2025. Staff recommends that the board adopt the increase of 3.56% for the 2026 school facility program grants based on the change in the statewide construction cost index as shown in attachment B. And I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you so much. Comments or questions from the board on this item? Okay, seeing none. Are there any public comments on this item? All right, seeing none, is there a motion and a second to approve the annual adjustment?
I'll make a motion.
Move to approve?
Moved by Assemblymember Davies, seconded by Senator Perez. If we could please have a roll call.
Senator Perez.
Aye.
Perez, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci.
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies. Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye, and that motion carries.
Thank you so much. We'll move right along now on to our biennial index adjustment on the assessment for development.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item is on stamped pages 153 and 154 of the agenda and presents the biennial index adjustment on the assessment for development. Similar to the last item, but pursuant to statute, the board adopts this biennial index adjustment on the assessment for development in January of every even-numbered year. This adjustment uses the same Class B construction cost index as the prior action item. Staff recommends that the board increase the 2026 maximum Level 1 assessment for development that can be charged by school districts by 4.06% based on the change in the construction cost index for the 2-year period from 2024 to 2026. I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you so much. Comments or questions from board members? Seeing none. Comments or questions from the public? Seeing none. May I have a motion and a second, please, to approve staff recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Assemblymember Marisucci. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Member Smith. If we could please have a roll call.
Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Assemblymember Marisucci?
Aye.
Marisucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies? Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva?
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales?
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt?
Aye.
Peralt, aye, and that motion carries.
Great. Thank you so much. Moving on to our next action item, which is the Career Technical Education Facilities Program Funding Cycle. Ms. Kirk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This item begins on stamped page 155 of today's agenda. The item presents the board with recommendations to establish an additional funding cycle for the Career Technical Education Facilities Program in collaboration with the California Department of Education. In April 2025, the board authorized a 7th funding cycle for this program using up to half of the bond authority authorized for the program by Proposition 2. And the board directed staff to bring back a future item for the board to consider establishing an 8th funding cycle. The 7th funding cycle is currently underway. The California Department of Education will publish grant application scores by March 31st, 2026, for applicants who applied to them by the December 1st, 2025 deadline. Upon receipt of a passing score from the Department of Education, applicants for the 7th funding cycle will then apply to the Office of Public School Construction by June 30th. And the Office of Public School Construction anticipates presenting 7th funding cycle applications to the board for funding consideration by December 2026. The recommendations for this item are shown on stamped pages 157 and 158. Staff recommends that the board establish the 8th funding cycle for the Career Technical Education Facilities Program, specifically as follows. We recommend that the board require applicants who are not retaining California Department of Education scores from the 7th funding cycle to submit new grant applications to the Department of Education by December 1st, 2026. To be clear, applicants who receive a passing Department of Education score in the 7th funding cycle currently underway would not need to resubmit an application to the Department of Education if there are no changes to that application, the project scope, or the project budget. We recommend that the board require that applications for the 8th funding cycle be submitted to the Office of Public School Construction by June 30th, 2027, that the board specify that the maximum funding allocation for eligible applications received in the 8th funding cycle would be approximately $300 million that remains for the program. The remaining funds available for the allocation would include any residual bond authority from Propositions 1D, 51, and 2 for the program, and would be reduced by administrative costs of the program. We recommend that the board specify when applicants to the 8th funding cycle must include a governing board resolution acknowledging the requirement to submit a required 5-year school facilities master plan, And also that the board declare that applications remaining after the board approves projects from the 8th funding cycle would be retained through December 31st, 2028, which would enable the board to continue awarding unfunded approvals to projects after the initial awards anticipated in December 2027, if additional bond authority returns to the program within that period. I'm pleased to address any questions on this item.
Thank you so much. Are there comments or questions from the board on this item? Seeing none, there are public comments on the item. All right, seeing none, is there a motion and a second to approve staff's 5 recommendations?
Move to approve.
Moved by Assemblymember Marsucci, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Lasso, if we could please have a roll call.
Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Assemblymember Marsucci?
Aye.
Marsucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies? Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva?
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales?
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt?
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries.
Great, thank you so much. We'll move on to our next action item, which is the California Preschool Transitional Kindergarten, Full-Day Kindergarten Facilities Grant Program 5th round, funding round proposal. Funding round proposal.
Thank
See
you,
if I
Madam
can-
Chair.
that
It's
was
a
a long
long one. This next action item is on stamped pages 159 through 165 of today's agenda. This item presents the board with a recommendation to establish an additional funding round for the California Preschool, Transitional Kindergarten, and Full-Day Kindergarten Facilities Grant Program. This program is distinct from the school facility program and was funded by general fund appropriations in the 2018, 2021, and 2022 state budget acts. Although funds for this program were previously fully awarded and each of the 4 previous funding rounds were oversubscribed, the program currently has approximately $31.6 million in available funds. These funds became available due to reductions to project scope or rescissions of projects that districts ultimately decided not to pursue. Any program funds that the board does not apportion by June 30th, 2028, or funds that have not been released by June 30th, 2030, will revert to the state's general fund. Staff's recommendations for this item are shown on stamped pages 162 and 163 of the agenda. Specifically, staff recommends that the board approve a 5th funding round with applications accepted by OPSC between April 1st and 30th, 2026, using all available program funds that may become available now and through June 30th, 2028. To ensure funds are awarded and released timely, we recommend that the board limit all extensions to the 18-month deadline for applicants to meet fund release requirements to no more than an additional 12 months or no later than May 1st, 2030, whichever comes first for this filing round only. We also recommend that the board require applicants who request financial hardship assistance to submit complete and valid Phase 1 financial hardship documentation at the time of application. And finally, we recommend that the board provide that all applications received in the 5th funding round that are not apportioned by the deadline of June 30th, 2028 would be considered unprocessed and returned to the applicants. I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you so much. Comments or questions on this item from the board? Okay, seeing none, any public comments? Okay, with that, is there a motion and a second to approve staff's recommendations?
So moved.
Moved by Assemblymember Marsucci, is there a second? Seconded by Jeremy Smith, if we could please have a roll call.
Senator Perez?
Aye.
Perez, aye. Assemblymember Marsucci?
Aye.
Marsucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies?
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva?
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales?
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith?
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso?
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt?
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries.
All right, thank you so much. We have one final action item before us today, which is proposed emergency regulatory amendments for the school facility program. I'll turn it back to staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This final action item is on stamped pages 166 through 586 of today's agenda. This item presents the board with recommendations for the adoption of school facility program regulatory amendments on an emergency basis to implement the 5-year school facilities master plan provisions of Proposition 2. This item is the 6th set of proposed regulatory amendments for the board's consideration to implement Proposition 2 provisions, which are applicable to applications received on or after October 31st, 2024. Proposition 2 requires, as a condition of participating in the school facility program, that school districts and county offices of education submit to OPSC a 5-year school facilities master plan or an updated 5-year school facilities master plan approved by their governing board. Among other things, statute requires that districts include specified minimum elements as part of the required master plan, including an inventory of existing facilities, sites, and property. Statute also requires OPSC to develop guidelines in consultation with the Department of Education that districts may use to guide the development of the school facilities master plan and the associated inventory. OPSC held 4 stakeholder meetings on this topic between February and November 2025 to inform development of these proposed regulations. Copies of all stakeholder meeting items and stakeholder letters received on this topic have been included in today's agenda as Attachment F. Key highlights of the proposed regulations include the following: codification of timeframes for applicants for various programs to submit the required master plan and an associated local governing board resolution, most of which were adopted by the board previously on a policy basis to continue facilitating the continued processing and funding of applications on an ongoing basis following Proposition 2 approval. The regulations also include establishment of a proposed 5-year master plan checklist, the Form SAB 50 MP, to assist applicants and OPSC in verifying that all required components are included in the master plan. We've proposed a new certification on the applications for funding for various programs as well. This proposed certification provides flexibility for applicants so they can indicate whether the master plan has been approved and already filed with OPSC, whether there are material changes to a formerly submitted master plan, and an acknowledgement that an apportionment may be rescinded for failure to submit a complete and valid master plan by the timeline required if the application type is subject to an alternate submittal timeline. In addition to the proposed regulations presented in this item, OPSC has included a copy of the school facility program guidelines for the 5-year school facilities master plan as Attachment E. We created these guidelines in consultation with the Department of Education as well as the Division of the State Architect and aided by stakeholder input. The guidelines largely serve as a set of recommendations and best practices for applicants to consider in the development of their master plans and associated inventories. These guidelines may be revised and expanded over time as a reference for school districts in developing and updating their master plans. Staff's recommendations for this item are shown on stamped page 176 of the agenda. We recommend that the board adopt the proposed amendments to the school facility program regulations shown on Attachment B, that the board adopt the proposed 5-year master plan checklist shown on Attachment C, that the board adopt the proposed amendments to the applications for funding for various programs, which are shown on Attachment D, and finally, that the board authorize OPSC to file the proposed regulatory amendments with the Office of Administrative Law on an emergency basis and subsequently make the regulations permanent. I'm pleased to address any questions.
Thank you so much. Comments or questions from the board? I'll just say, I know that this requirement for this master plan is a big undertaking and potentially quite a large undertaking for various school districts. And I do appreciate, again, it's new, it's a new process. And so I appreciate the staff really being thoughtful, not just in the outreach, but also in thinking through how to provide documentation to help guide districts. I hope that means it'll result in less confusion and potentially, minimize the back and forth that has to happen with staff and districts as they're trying to navigate the new requirements. But I just appreciate kind of the thought and appreciate your comment around being flexible as we learn in this space, changing and adding things to continue to support the districts. So again, just appreciate that. Comments or questions from the public on this item? Okay. Oh, yes, Director Lasso.
I'd like to add to that staff also completed this work in record time to support our schools. So beside it being thorough and thoughtful, and there was a significant amount of outreach and collaboration across CDE and DSA and OPSC, the dedication to get this in record time is phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, noted. Okay, with that, this is an action item. Is there a motion and a second to approve a staff recommendation?
Motion.
Moved by Assemblymember Davies. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Assemblymember Marsucci. If we could please have a roll call.
Senator Perez.
Aye.
Perez, aye. Assemblymember Marsucci.
Aye.
Marsucci, aye. Assemblymember Davies.
Aye.
Davies, aye. Assemblymember Quirk Silva.
Aye.
Quirk Silva, aye. Juan Morales.
Aye.
Morales, aye. Jeremy Smith.
Aye.
Smith, aye. Ana Lasso.
Aye.
Lasso, aye. Michelle Peralt.
Aye.
Peralt, aye. And that motion carries.
Thank you so much. And again, thank you to staff and all who worked to get the multiple emergency regulation packages through on this. I know we continue to work through it all and appreciate the hard work. Before I move to our financial reports and then our discussions and information items, I just wanted to go back. Senator Perez, you were able to join us a little late. I wanted to know whether or not we were going to open up for a vote from you on the minutes, the consent agenda, and then the first appeal item for Orland School District. So I'll turn it back over to staff for that roll call.
Great, thank you. Senator Perez, how do you vote on the minutes?
Aye.
Perez, aye. On the minutes. How do you vote on the consent calendar?
Aye.
Perez, aye. On the consent calendar. And on Orland Joint Unified School District Appeal item, how do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Senator Perez, aye on Orland. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate
Thank
that. All right, we'll go ahead now and move on to our financial reports, which are on pages 72 through 109 of your packet. Is there any comments or questions from the board on the financial reports? Seeing none, any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, this is not an action item, so we'll go ahead now and go to our reports, discussion, and information items. And I realized I didn't know if staff had comments on either of these. I should have turned it over to you, staff, on both of them.
No concerns. Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I would note here, toward the back of our financial reports item, we do have aggregated project information worksheet data as of December 31st, 2025. We typically compile that information once annually as part of our meeting agenda. That section is on stamped pages 90 through 109 of today's agenda. And other than that, I'm pleased to answer any questions on either the financial reports or the reports, discussion, and information items.
Thank you. So apologies, I knew you had needed to note on that, and I rushed right past it. Are there any comments on the reports, discussion, or information items? Seeing none, or is there any public comments on? Nope, okay. With that is not an action item, so before we adjourn, are there any other public comments on items not on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn at 4:43. Thank you.